guys doing all right? Welcome to leadership. I hope you're ready to go. I hope you wore your tough skin today. Is that all right? How many of you know when a leader gets better, everybody gets better? And how many of you want to get better? We want not only to make it better, we want to get better. I got to add that into our values too. Anyhow, I am jacked up to be here. I'm going to introduce Josh. Josh came up. Josh, how long ago did you show up here? Is that 3 years ago? 5 years ago? He came through the gate from Wisconsin, and I've watched this guy just grow and stretch, and he's developing such an unbelievable company. Can I just tell you something? Some of you are leading organizations right now, and one of the greatest challenges you have in any organization that's entrepreneurial is moving people from an employee mentality to a really entrepreneurial-driven leadership. And so let me tell you one of the things that you'll notice in employee mentality as you're leading people. Normally people try to get as much as they can and try to do as little as they can, and they measure a lot. And so if you guys just, honestly, if you're on a present job, if you just show up and do the extra and become more and do more, you're going to be promoted like you cannot imagine. The greatest leadership principle I believe in all the world is he who is faithful in little will all of a sudden be faithful in a lot. And a lot of people say, one day when I get a better position, then I'll do better. But I've always found out when I went way beyond the call of duty in the moment where I was, it always promoted me to the next level. Anyhow, this guy is definitely the definition of that. I went and got a haircut today. Does it look good? Yeah, thank you very much. I got to get my hair colored just like her, so I'm going to talk to my wife. You're going to be around here later. I'm going to say I want to look just like her. And so I think that purple hair is a pastor. And then I can sing Purple Rain. It's going to be awesome. So, Purple Rain. So anyhow, y'all don't know this, but Quan's on the front row. He's part of my security. He's actually nicer than he looks, and so I just think that's really important. I was I'll tell you the story and then come up. Okay, Josh, I'll introduce you. I was with Tenant Financial in Miami. I had the privilege of getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and catching a flight to Miami. And when I showed up, all of a sudden, outside the room, a security guard was there. And so when I walked in the room, everybody thought he was guarding me. So they treated me in a way that I've never been treated before in my entire life. And everybody was coming up and going, "Is that guy out there for you?" I went, I never said no, because I was like, I'm not going to give away my advantage. Can I get an amen? And I didn't lie. I was just like, maybe he is. Who knows? But anyhow, they were trying to figure out who I was. And then my dearest friend, matter of fact, he's going to come. And he's going to record, and he was the president of the Franchise Association. He owned Planet Smoothie. He's owned several companies. He sold. He was the CEO, and he sold mailboxes, etc., to UPS. He's a decorated war veteran, just a dear friend of mine. And I actually, guess what I did? Yesterday I flew to Miami because he asked me to come. He just got over COVID. COVID saved his life because his heart stopped 5 times while he was in the hospital. And they put a pacemaker in, and he's like a new man now. And I told him, I said, I even think you have a heart now. And he didn't think that was funny, but I thought it was hilarious. And I served him. They gave me a seat of honor, and when they gave me the seat of honor, I'm teaching right now whether you know it or not. Instead of taking the seat of honor, being the man of honor, I took it as a chance to serve him. So before he spoke, I went and got him a bottle of water. How many of you know what you want your culture to be, you have to demonstrate it? And anytime we get too big to serve somebody, I think we've gotten way too big. And so if you really want to lead and be successful, I would just encourage you to find 10 ways that right now you're not serving that you could serve. Find a need and fill it. And watch what happens. The reason I'm giving you all this is because this is exactly what Josh has done when he got here. And I've watched him grow. I've watched him stretch. I've watched him honestly want to leave. I've watched him run his head into a brick wall. I've watched him deal with the level of excellence that we feel here. If you're building a magical culture, a culture that really matters, it will stretch people. And it will get people in, and it will pretty quickly uncover their insecurities and the broken spots in us that need to be healed. And you'll find out one of the greatest things that keeps us all from succeeding, are you with me? Is that I continually try to bring the culture down to the level of my need and not to the level of the mission of the organization. Okay, are y'all okay? So you could chew on that one for a while. I chew on it daily. Just so you know, around here, nobody has to grow. Nobody has to stretch. Nobody has to learn. Nobody has to do more of what needs to be done more than me. I am the one that gets the privilege to set the pace in my life. And as you age up, and as you success up, that means you get more money. There's a tendency inside of us to think that now it's time for me to be more demanding. But it's actually the time for me to find a whole nother level of serving and giving honor and setting the pace. So I'm fired up about it. Josh, will you come here? I know you're going to bring up my son, who I love more than you can imagine. So will you please welcome Mr. Josh Cook in the house?
Wow. I don't know what to say after that, right? I mean, we're in this room because that man's amazing. And he's the example for me that I've had the opportunity to just walk with, follow, and serve. And it's my honor to be able to have the opportunity and the privilege to do that. And, here at G5, we have an amazing culture. And as guys come in here, they get a chance to say, hey, I want to take this culture and go back into my company. And I want you to know today that that can't be done without you, without your giving. And so I wasn't asked to say this. I did ask Blake before I came up here. I said, hey, is it okay if we talk? Because as we're coming into this season of giving, we are doing leadership here. We're also a church, and that's our passion here, is to reach the world, reach the globe, reach communities, reach cities. PT going out into Miami and serving is what this is all about. But it can't be done without generosity. And so as we come in, we're coming into a season here where we're doing a legacy offering. And I just encourage you, if you've maybe never given before, to maybe just ask God, hey, what is it that you want me to do this season? How can I sow to G5? Because I can tell you, for me, when I figured out what it was to give of my time, give of my talent, it's not about me, right? But what God has given me, he's been able to open doors and bless me in ways that I can't explain. So I just encourage you today that as we get started here, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. I think it's the 19th. I think it'll be probably on our G5 app. If you go to the give section, you'll be able to allocate those finances to that, to the legacy offering. But I just encourage you, because none of this is possible without your gift and you coming and sowing and being a part of this. So I am grateful. I am blessed to have had the opportunity for, these 5 years to walk with Tim and Blake and just have them as an amazing example in my life. And, today PT was talking, he got his hair cut. And it was a moment for me today, honestly. Blake got his hair cut. Tim got his hair cut. I was there first, and I just sat. After I got done, I just sat in a chair next to him and got an opportunity to spend some time with Blake. You want to know why? Because I admire him. He's younger than I am. He's very wise. He's got a lot of wisdom. And he's walked with his father through life for 25 years. And when he speaks and when he connects with people, I just watch how they walk in. Matter of fact, the last time I got my hair cut, when Tim walked in, I walked in and I had a lot on my mind. And talk about an example. He walked in. I walked in first. I got my hair cut. And when I walked in, it was like I walked into the salon and there was all these people, and I'd never seen that like that in a long time, but it's the holiday season, right? And I came in and I was quiet. I didn't want to make a disturbance. I didn't want to say anything. I got to my chair. I sat down. And as I was leaving, Tim was coming in. And you know what he did? Hey, my name is Tim. How are you? I don't think we've met yet. And I was like, oh, I failed today. But I walked away and I went, he taught me something. Every time I go with him, I'm learning. I learned from Blake today. He's in there. He's having fun with all these ladies. He's cracking jokes. He's an encourager. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored to be able to live life and walk with these guys. I want you to have the opportunity. I want you who are watching online to have the opportunity. It starts with a gift. It starts with sowing, learning, growing. And this man that's coming up is such a visionary. I love learning from Blake. He teaches me something every time I'm around him. And I just want to encourage you, just get out your pen, get out your notebook, take some notes today. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up my brother, Mr. Blake Goad.
What's up, everybody? Can we get a round of applause for Josh real quick? We love Josh. He's amazing. This place wouldn't run without him. That's for sure. It truly is amazing to watch him since he came. And my dad makes the jokes, but it's true. But he definitely busted the gate when he got here, you know. From the time he's got here to the time today, it is amazing to see the seasons we've walked through together. The life struggles, the life's fun times, the hard times, the great times. It's amazing. And how many of you know it's important in life to have a family that you can walk through time with, right? And Josh is definitely, how many of you know a lot of times, sometimes blood family isn't truly family? If you want an example, my family is proof of that. I can tell you that right now. How many of you know that I have you don't know this, but I have so many people in my life that is more family to me than my actual. Well, my mom and dad and sister are family, but I have family outside of that. But I have more people that are adopted aunts and uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters that are more brothers and sisters to me and cousins than my actual cousins are. And I just want to say to those people, whoever you know who you are, thank you. Because if it wasn't for you guys, this place wouldn't run. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. So thank you. So y'all ready for today? So before we get started, we gotta have a little fun, right? So a buddy of mine sent me this photo the other day, and I showed a couple people, and it says, how many of you ever, like how Disney has shows, and they have like shows that they'll bring them to town that's like Disney on Ice and all this stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Well, my buddy of mine sent me a photo, and he said, I came up with a great idea for Disney's new show on ice. I said, okay, what is it? And he sends me a photo of his freezer full of deer meat, and he says, Bambi on Ice, the next big thing. And I was like, dude, that is amazing. Let's do it. But how many of you know to have fun like that, you have to have people that are crazy enough to do life with you? Crazy enough to do life with you. And today I'm going to do a little something different than I normally do for leadership. Normally leadership, I'm breaking words down or I'm talking about leadership or vision or dreaming. But I want to talk about the Christmas season and dealing with family in the Christmas season. Dealing with family. How many of you have a crazy family? If I could put all the limbs up, I'd put all limbs up. And here's what I love. My family is crazy, and I'm glad they are. Because how many of you know, my dad talks about it all the time, but the crazier they are, the more we love them. Because crazy people get stuff done. But how many of you know there's a good crazy, and there's a bad crazy? And how many of you know people love spending time with their family at the holiday season? Sometimes not really. But how many of you have those family members that you dread every year seeing? And you know what I'm talking about? Dude, we can be honest. I have a crazy uncle. I love my crazy uncle. But there's moments like, I need a break. I can't take. And my favorite is Junior last week. And he goes, dude, did you hear that joke your uncle told? I said, yes. I heard it about 20 years ago for the first time. And I've heard it 52,000 times every week since then. But how many of you know I love people that can tell a joke and get a laugh every single time? But how many of you know sometimes it's great and sometimes you're like, okay, I've heard the joke about the cow with no arms and what is he in the ocean? A buoy. I've heard that joke 1,000 times. But how many of you know you have some people that when they get together, they love to start fights? They're angry at the world constantly. Or you have people that, again, look, can I be brutally honest today? Is that okay? Can I be honest? we have family that are addicted to drugs or things that they shouldn't be doing, right? And how many of you know it's hard to go into those places and be who you are supposed to be and who God called you to be in those places, right? And how many of you, sometimes it's hard to go in, you dread going there because you just don't want to be influenced by it. Well, I want to just talk about 3 little simple things that when you go into that culture and the places you got to go into this holiday season, what you can do to help influence your family in the right way. Can we do that? Yeah. Cool. Number 1, you all ready? Is hope. And you're thinking, Blake, what does hope have to do with leadership? There's a quote, and my dad says it all the time, but people can't live 2 seconds without hope. Hope. And I was thinking about it on the way out here, and how many of you know, it's so true, but a talk is never actually done. You may put the final note on it, but a talk is never actually done, right? You can always be better at it. You can always do better at it. And I was, I had my notes, and I was going over it today, and I was on my way out here, and I was thinking, Blake, with your talk, how can you make it better? And I was like, And how many of you know sometimes I love when God doesn't give you something until like 2 seconds before you need it? My mom talks about it all the time, and she was like, she studies for Women's Night, and she studies for weeks and weeks, and she's trying to think. She's like, God, I need something. Give me something. And 2 hours before Women's Night, she's like, I got it. But how many of you sometimes do the delayed gratification it impacts people more than it actually does getting the talk 3 months ago? Because how many of you know sometimes the information you can think of or God gives you or somebody says something and you think of something, it's more impactful at the moment than it is you thinking about it and processing it for 6 months or a week. How many of you know you went to make a decision and you've had like a year and a half to think about it? And the more and more you think about it, the harder and harder it is for you to make that decision. The harder and harder it is for you to make that decision. And one of the hardest decisions that you can think of is how many of you know is what you listen to and what you read and what you watch, right? That's one of the hardest decisions. And, I love the quote, and it says, where there is hope, there is life. And how many of you know what you pour into you will eventually come out? What you watch, what you listen to, what you eat. I had a talk with my doctor yesterday, and the doctor's like, yo, bro, let's work on some stuff. I was like, Doc, come on. You can't take that away from me. And she's like, I'm not, but you are. I'm like, oh, mind tricks. I love it. No. But how many of you know sometimes you need somebody to come alongside of you and give you some hope and encouragement that may not seem like it's hope and encouragement to you at the time. But at the time, you need a friend that comes by and go, hey, bro, here's what's got to go down in order to get where God wants you to be in the future. And that's hope. And another way to have hope is have something to look forward to. Something to look forward to. And you're saying, Blake, well, that's kind of weird. What do you mean looking forward to? How many of you know? So I'm a very visual person. Very visual person. I have dyslexia, and reading, spelling, and math, that is not my friend. I'll just get it out there right now. So, but how many of you know I grew up with Tim Goad, so I'm a very visual person. My dad is a visionary. If you've hung around with him for more than 5 minutes, you'll know that, right? How many of you have experienced that around Tim Goad? We can talk in here. It's okay. We don't hurt people. But how many of you know that having hope is having a vision, right? What you visualize, what you see, what you look forward to will give you hope to keep going. Will give you hope to keep going. And how many of you know looking forward to hanging with family can sometimes not be that encouraging, right? And look, I'm not saying that everybody's family's bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But however you know that everybody has their days. And everybody has their on days and everybody has their off days. And how many of you know one of my favorite things is being around people when they have their off days so I can help them get back to their on days. And I love this, and I was thinking about this, and I love when God gives you something, and it's like when you hear it, you're like, oh, that could be cool. But the more you think about it, you're like, wow, that was great, right? And he said, we were driving out here, and I was stuck in traffic, and how many of you know sometimes traffic really is not fun? I've had more people tell me I was number one today than all of you have. And not because of my driving. No, I'm kidding. No. But I was sitting there, and I love when God gave me this. He goes, where there is hope, there is life. Where there is peace, there is love. And where there's love, there is freedom. And that's more huge than you know. Because how many of you know family nowadays, they're at each other's throats constantly, right? We were at the airport flying back from Boston the other day, and this dad and mom were being totally rude to their kids. One of the daughters, she was probably 12 or 13, and she looked at the mom to ask a question. Just to ask a question. She said, excuse me, Mom, I need to ask you a question. She turned around, and the mom looked at the daughter and said, would you stop being a big brat and get over it? And I'm like, dear Lord, she was just asking a question. But how many of you know that's the world we're living in right now, where the people have no place to go to take what they're dealing with, and they take it out in the wrong way, right? They take it out on their kids. They take it out on their friends. If you have no idea how many times that we've had people that we love so dearly come to us and just ream us. And we're like, where did this come from? And they're like, we're so sorry, but we had no place else to go dump except for here. And we're like, wow. But how many of you know when you go to your family this Christmas and this past Thanksgiving or whatever it was, how many of you know you have the opportunity to give hope to your family? And simply that could be just listening to them. Listening to the things they're going through. Listening to the work stuff they're having to deal with. How many know work can be hard? Work can be so hard. And how many of you know the second thing that people are looking for this Christmas is peace? When you think of Christmas, I think, we think of Jesus and, presents, and we think of happy and, peace and love, and we think of all this stuff. But how many of you know sometimes Christmas is probably the most stressful time of the year for people? And you're thinking, why is it so stressful? It's because people make it stressful. You know what I'm talking about? They make it harder than it needs to be. And you're thinking, and I love when people, I see people do things, and I'm like, what are you doing? You can make this so much simpler. But they don't know what they don't know, right? And one of the biggest things I want to encourage you all to do before you spend time with your family, look, again, please hear me. I'm not beating up on family, right? I love family. G5 is called to help families, right? How many of you know here, G5, one of our main missions is to save marriages and families, right? Can I get an amen? Okay, I just want to make sure you all are still awake. I might have to pass some excess out here in a minute. I don't know. We'll see. But, yeah, get some roadie blast going here. I don't know. We'll see. But how many of you know one of the other things families need this Christmas is excitement? How many of you know that they go up and they get up early every day and they go to work and it's boring and it's boring to people, right? Sometimes. But how many of you know the biggest thing you can do in life is make things exciting for them? We're going to be in Salt Lake City this week in Utah. Last I checked, that's where it's at. Cool. But we're going to be out there, and there's a family we're going to see, and they have little kids. And I called her on the way out here, and I said, hey, can you tell your kids I cannot wait to have fun with them this week? And she said, yes, I'll let them know. And I can hear them in the background. They're like, Mommy, who is it? But how many of you know that simple action gave those kids hope and excitement and love and peace for the next day to get through it, right? But how many of you know, I want to keep, my dad talks about this all the time, is find your innocence. Find your innocence. How many of you know we all go through so much in life that we get so scared to make another decision to get hurt? We don't want to get hurt. And here's one of the biggest things I want to encourage you all to understand is when you go see your family it's already been through, I'm going to say, it's in the Bible, I can say, hell and back. They've already been through hell and back. All they want from you, and now, again, this is going to sound very weird, but they just want to know that you love them where they're at. And that's the third point is love. People want to know that you have hope enough to give them hope. They want to know you are at peace with where you're at to give them peace. Because how many of you know where you're at can eventually help other people get where they want to be? But here's one of the biggest things, and my dad tells this all the time, and I think about it all the time. Is that if you can help enough other people get what they want, eventually you'll get what you want. So if you have a niece and nephew, right? I have so many adopted nieces and nephews and cousins and little brothers and all that stuff. I'll give you a prime example. My little bro Emery over here. He's my little adopted brother. I love him. He's not officially adopted, but he's adopted. But how many of you know he came walking in today and we have our talent show tonight? And I looked at him and I said, hey, dude, I heard you're singing opera tonight. Is that true? But how many of you know he was like, no, that's not. But how many of you know me saying that, he got him excited and gave him a little bit spark of hope. And you're thinking, what do you mean? How did you joking with a 12-year-old kid give him hope? Kids just want to know that you can have fun with them at where they're at. Right? And I love him. He loves Disney. You think I love Disney? He loves Disney. And every time I go to the parks, he inspires me to go to Disney more because I love seeing his reactions at Disney. I love watching him have. How many of you know watching other people have fun will eventually help you have fun? Get around people that have fun. My dad was joking about it, but it's true. Uncle Ron over here. Uncle Ron, we've known him. I wasn't even born when we met Uncle Ron. But how many of you know him and Emery going to Disney with me gave me hope for the next day? And they don't even know that. But just doing a random act of kindness, right? Is that so true? A random act of kindness. And the fourth one, and I'm going to end on this one, and I'm going to bring my dad out. I'm so excited with what Dad's going to talk about today. I don't even know what it's about, but all I know is it's going to be amazing because every time he talks, it's amazing. Am I true? Is that true? Awesome. So the fourth one, and I already said the word, but it's fun. Hope, peace, love, and fun. And I love, there's a quote, and then there's this book I've heard about. It's kind of a big deal. I don't know, I've only read it a couple times maybe. It's called the Bible. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But there's a scripture in the Bible, and it simply says, you will keep in perfect peace those minds are steadfast and because they are true in you. How many of you know, I was talking about this in the beginning of the talk, but what you put in will eventually come out. If you put in junk and carbs, how do you know that's going to come out eventually? Or it's going to show off eventually. But how many of you know if you put edification in, if you put the positive points in your life, if you listen to good music, if you listen to talks, read books, listen to the right music, have fun with the right people that know how to have fun. That's huge, guys. How many of you know there's people that have fun, but it may not be the right fun for you? And to be honest, it's not the right fun for them either. But how many of you know the only way you can edificate, you can truly get them to where those people need to be, your family, your friends, or wherever it is. And my dad, I love this, we say this here all the time, is the 5 closest people you hang with will determine who you are. Determines what you're going to become. And how many of you know having fun, loving on people, giving them the peace to come and be able to just talk. And it didn't even have to be talking about anything. It could be talking about Embry loves the Broncos. It could be talking about the Denver Broncos. How many of you know talking about little things that people care about, getting into their world, changes everything for them? So I just want to encourage you all, wherever you are this Christmas or this holidays, be able to give hope to people, please. Because how many of you know this world needs hope right now? It needs peace. I love my dad agrees with this. It's awesome. The third one is they need love. And the fourth one, they just need to have a laugh. They need to have fun. How many of you know when you can derobe, that's going to sound weird, but when you can derobe and take your armor off, the more amazing things happen. The more the amazing things happen. And I love what Mother Teresa said. She simply says that everybody comes into your life for a reason, and everybody comes into your life as a lesson. How many of you know sometimes the lessons are the blessings, and the blessings are the lessons? You're thinking, well, that's a tongue twister. I said, yeah, say that 5 times fast. It's fun. But how many of you know, Josh said it earlier, we were in there with those ladies that get our haircut, but we will never know, us just sitting in there, Josh, talking to them and hanging out and laughing, what that did for them today. We'll never know. I just want to encourage you, you never know when you can impact somebody's life. There's always somebody watching. Always. Even when you don't think it. How many of you know that, and this guy I'm about to bring up, he's kind of a big deal. I don't know if you've ever heard of him before. He's my dad. I've known him my whole life. But this man is, who he is up here is who he is at home. And what I talked about today, he lives out every single day. There's people he loves and he's at peace with, and he has fun with them. And there's people he does it with that I'm like, I would have never done that with them. Because how many of you know the people you need to do it the most with are the people that stabbed you in the back the hardest? If you knew, and I'm going to say something, okay? But if you knew the hell of people that have stabbed us in the back, but we're still standing. Here's what I want to encourage you guys. Whatever this guy says, please listen, because he has fun, but he ain't joking around. I learned that the hard way. But please help me welcome my amazing father, Mr. Tim Goad.
Yeah, baby. Way to go. Blake Goad, you threw down there, man. That's awesome. All right, so I'm excited. Get ready to write fast. Before I go today, let me say thank you to Seth up here. Will you give him a hand? Yeah. These guys are so faithful. They take time away from work. It costs for them to come to these events, as well as Josh and Spencer back right here on the camera. Thank you. I'm overwhelmed. Will you give him a hand too? I'm so grateful for that. Okay, so I want to talk to you about building a powerful, dynamic culture. Oh my goodness. I was thinking about this on my way out today, and you leaders, I so much want us to grow together in this. Thank you, Blake. I'm going to probably schedule a Saturday afternoon and let you guys come in and just really break this down. It's such an incredible thing that leaders must know. It is the thing in your life that changes everything. And most of us never took a class in high school. We never were raised in our homes to really understand it. And college doesn't really offer that much on it. And until you experience it, you can't really even understand it, because it's an intangible. That means it's really hard to measure it. You can't put it in a spreadsheet and go, here's what it does. But it will change. This is critical, leaders, for you to hear me. It will change the performance. It will change the productivity. It will change so much in your organization. When people feel good, they do better. When they feel appreciated, when they feel noticed, when they feel loved, it changes everything. So, I want to talk to you about how today you can change the world around you by valuing people that are in your life. It will teach us, instead of cursing the darkness, how to bring out the light. So many times in life, it's easy to point out what's wrong. But it's even better when we can help create what's right. What's right? What I admire about you coming today in this audience, honestly, for being here, I'm just so proud of you, because you could be anywhere. And right now, you've invested an hour of your life. And I want to give you something so practical and yet so powerful in your life. If you're a leader, you're not only trying to change situations around you, you're not only trying to help change the profit in your organization. It doesn't take you long to realize that I need to be a part of help changing in a positive way, not because something's wrong with them, but because there's something so much more in them. I get to help people change. Can I tell you? Until the day you go home to be with Jesus, you can grow and you can change. You can get better. People change. It's so interesting to watch people when they change, because in your life, it's hard to change. And I just encourage you to go back on the app and go into last month's leadership. If you haven't got it yet, please go, because it is the foundation of everything I'm going to lay today. Okay? People change, first of all, when they hurt enough. When you hurt enough. Pain is such an incredible motivator. And I just want you to know, people rarely change until the pain increases to the point that they know they have to do something different. A wise leader is a leader that leads positive change before the change even needs to be made. Okay, so we can talk a lot about that, okay? The second times people change is, honestly, when they've seen enough in the people around them to know that that difference is the difference that needs to be in their life. That's why if you ask me today, what is the most incredible thing you've learned in 30 years of teaching and being around leaders? It's this. People don't get their lives changed through information. They get their lives changed through association. You see it different. I have friends of mine, and it breaks my heart right now, because they have a calling that's here. Now stay with me. It's high, but they're in a culture that's here. It's possible to train your children for yesterday instead of tomorrow. While we were raising Blake and Bree, who are young adults now that are just incredible. I mean, I listen to my son, the wisdom, and I listen to him talk. And I can hear talks that I gave, honestly, 20 years ago. It comes out of him. It's amazing because some of you think people are not listening. They're way more listening than you know. But it's more than the words you say, it's the life that you live and lead. Thirdly, change people really change when they learn enough. When they learn enough, they receive enough information that they can change. So, are you ready to move on to new information today? If you are, just say yes. So, in any organization, if you are going to build a dynamic culture, it takes these three things. I'm not going to talk about these in totality today, but we will lay a foundation that we can build on later. Number one, if you have a dynamic culture, there are going to be behaviors. There's a behavior. The second one is there will be symbols. There will be signage. It's why around here, if you look at what we do, we say you can belong before you know how to behave. Why? Because the first thing that changes everybody's life is behavior. What is expected? As a leader, how should I behave? What should I do? And the third thing is systems. Systems. Behaviors, it's not just what I say. It's more about what I do. It's not what I say, it's what I do. Have you ever had anybody in your life that said the right thing, but you couldn't receive it because their body language was saying something different? Yeah. Their words were there, but their behavior did not line up. Have you ever had somebody say, I'm excited, but they're really not excited? Have you ever had somebody come in? So you got to be really careful about this now, because honestly, I will never forget, I was speaking in a church. There was about 10,000 people there. And just before I walked out on the platform, after the worship was over, they brought a man in that was about 70 years old. And he sat, and while I spoke, his wife was beautifully dressed. He was beautifully dressed. And while I spoke, about half the time he slept. Now, if you've ever spoken in your life, it's not a good feeling when people sleep through what you're saying. And there was something inside of me. I'm really helping somebody right now that speaks. There's a real tendency inside of you to go after people that are not responding correctly to what you're saying, even in meetings, instead of just stating. But behaviors matter. When I was done, I give an altar call, and it was packed. I think almost 99% of the people stood that night for three things. First time salvation, rededicate their lives. Or that night I was asking, how many of you want to know the purpose of your life and will surrender your life? And it was incredible. And he stood. Well, when it was over, I walked down over the platform because I was going to speak to people, and they come walking towards me. And as they were walking towards me, his wife said, oh my goodness, he could not wait to get here tonight. And I'm going, he couldn't wait to get here tonight to sleep. Do you know what I'm saying? How many of you know? Right? Yeah. She said, he has been so sick. He just got out of chemo today. But he had to come and hear you. I went, oh. I used to get mad because when I would speak, I would have people going, woo, and I'd have somebody sitting there like, is that all you got? And when it was over, the guy that was woo left the building, and the guy that was like, would walk up to me and say, you radically changed my life tonight. Behavior. In your life as a leader, I cannot tell you how you walk in a room, how you stand in a room, where you stand in the room, if you leave the room, I cannot tell you. I have leaders all the time that they'll have people on stage, and when they're done speaking, they leave, and I go, no, your job has just begun. Because now when your people speak, you need to be more interested than anybody else in the room. Why? It validates the value that they're bringing in the organization. So, behaviors have to do with words, tones, and attitudes, actions. And in your life right now, I would encourage you to learn how to make your body in every meeting be the person that is setting the bar. So, yesterday I told you I went to see Jim, and I went to serve him. His name is Jim. And I flew down. It was yesterday. Look, my wife, we did all this. We had a team meeting. It was incredible. Oh my gosh, what a night. That afternoon I texted her and said, I really feel led I'm supposed to go. And she's so beautiful. She goes, okay. She could have said, you can't do that. You know, you've got all this on you. She went, whatever you think. I was there 5 minutes in the meeting, and I realized why I needed to be there. So I have this dedicated guy that gets up in front, and he's given the keynote speech, and 3 minutes into his speech to all these high-powered leaders, about 40 of them, all running major companies, he edified me beyond measure and said, I would encourage you to get with this man. Wow. The owner of this company came up to me and immediately started expressing the needs in his organizations, Junior. And I said, we can help you get that done. Another man walked up to me and he goes, I run a major company, but can I tell you what's on my heart? Ooh, this fired me up. He said, I want to help men stand up. Could you help me? Right after that, another dedicated guy, all the world in business, walked up to me and said, he lives in Wisconsin, Josh, and he goes, we have 10 cities where we bring the most successful leaders in those cities together, and we need you to come, and we have no way to train them. I went to serve a leader and look at the doors. Let me tell you something to my younger generation. Let me tell you, some of you all don't know how to give. You want it to give you heat before you put the wood in, and it's beneath you to give your life away to people that desperately need you. And when you give, it's promised to be given back, pressed down, shaken together. Will it run over in your life? Go. If I can tell you anything, because honestly, in our lives, we're not taught to be a giver. We're taught entitlement. So I just want to encourage you. So behaviors, symbols, and system. What are symbols? Hey, it's signage, it's language, it's how we do what we do. Systems, we'll talk a lot more about this later. Honestly, it's measurements, it's reports, it's priorities, it's how we spend money, it's what we put money in. Like right around here, I want to let you know, I will never put millions of dollars into buildings here. I won't do it. I'm not against other people putting millions of dollars. You do whatever you want. I want to put that millions of dollars into reaching people because it's the only thing that lasts forever. No matter how beautiful a building you build, I don't care. It's going to decay at some point. So we're not building buildings to show how great we are. We're building people that will take the world. And so I had a guy, he's a contractor, and I told him about the new building over here, because right now I'm coming after this, okay? We're working, we're giving, we're sowing, and I want to be a really great steward, Bruce, because guess what? I was going to buy $85,000 outdoor bathrooms that cost $500 every 2 weeks to have them pumped. And I went, I am not doing this for the rest of my life. I called my contractor and said, what is it going to take for you to get a permit to get me restrooms in? Well, as this thing keeps moving, we're starting to need a building here like you cannot imagine. Those of you that attend know on Sunday morning, we right now, and if they all show up, we are really in trouble. Okay, so anyhow, right now I'm trying to get another bathroom built, but at the same time, I'm coming really after this next building. So I called this other contractor, and he goes, well, I've done the calculations on that building, and this is the building, and it's going to cost you $10 million. And I went, not in my lifetime. I think I can put up that building for under $1 million. Okay, I believe I can put up that steel building. And honestly, I don't want to put a lot of money in the building. Guess where I want to put the money in? I want to put the money in production. Because in production, I can reach the world. So who is it in your life right now that in your life right now, in your systems and in your symbols, you're showing people what really matters, right? What really matters. So in your life right now and in your company, what is it that you need to do? So in your life right now, I want you to know every organization has a hidden quality, a way of doing things that are more powerful than any one person. I wish I could stop for an hour here. In every organization, there is a hidden quality, a way of doing things, a strategy that is more powerful than any one person. Leaders, be careful that you're not building your future around you. It's got to be built around people. Now, your gift will always have room for you. And by the way, if you've got a real gift on your life, there will be nothing that you can do to stop that gift coming out and being recognized when you walk into any environment. Before long, people are going to recognize the leadership gift that's on you. There will be favor on you that people don't understand. There will be people that do what you do, but they won't get the opportunities that you get. Oh my gosh, let me encourage you. To really understand an organization, it requires that we go on, beyond and beneath the charts, the rule books, the equipment, and the building. Are you with me? Culture includes values and intangibles, and they can see that they are way beyond just the way people dress and talk and look, even the messages on the wall. I got to be careful. Maybe you can edit this out. I was not in the room in this company yesterday, but about 5 minutes, and the owner walked over to me, and I asked him 3 clarifying questions. And he looked at me and he goes, how do you know that? I can feel when I walk into an organization. I can tell when I walk in this building whether things are in order or they're out of order, whether there's trust or there's not trust, whether people feel fulfilled or they don't feel fulfilled, whether they sense there's clarity or whether they don't sense clarity. In your life right now, you have got to answer these questions. Like, I'll give you a big question. Are you ready? If you're running a company right now, who is the second person in your organization? Who is the person that closes the door? Who is the person that has your back? Who is the person that sees your need and serves you as you're serving them? Who is the number 2 person in your organization, in your life? Here's why. Without them, you don't have a future. They actually bring credibility to the person that's leading. Are you with me? So you have to work. You have to work. And if there's anything I could ask for men and women that come here, is find out how to step into that role, because an organization can have many, 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 many second people who are the most powerful person in any organization, but it can only have one leader that has that position of leadership. But many of these people can actually take the leadership and run. So if you want to find out how to be more successful than you presently are in the environment that you're in, find a need and fill it. And watch what happens to you. They see way beyond how people dress and talk and look. They look to the intangibles, to see and to grasp and to understand that it really goes beyond any of that. It goes to beliefs and values and virtues and character, because this is the only way that trust can be built. Okay, that is big. If you want to advance, I wish I could take a bunch of high schoolers right now and bring them into a room and say, if you want to win, and you want to win big, and if you want to be promoted faster than anybody else in your company, find a need and fill it, become the greatest servant of all, and start to understand that the intangibles are way more important than the intangibles. I'm just going to give you something hard, okay? You cannot build anything great until people are willing to show up. It's in the showing up, it's in the buy-in that you place value. Josh moved from being an observer and a consumer, are you with me? To being a contributor and a builder. Every week he comes to me and tells me about 4 or 5 people that he reached out to and he touched. He's 100% accurate today. I went home and told my wife, I said, Josh sat in that chair the whole time and I know exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing. I went to get a haircut today, but that's really not why I went. Yeah, I needed a haircut. But why I went was to encourage everybody in that salon, to notice them, to say, how are you doing? And it's been amazing. So guess what? While I'm getting my hair cut, the lady that owns the salon, I look over at her and go, can I ask you a question? How much would it cost me to get you to church tonight? She said, what do you mean cost? I said, I'll pay you. I'll pay you to come. You don't have to pay me. I said, what's it going to cost? She said, I'm going to be there tonight. I said, okay, I got one question for you. I said, everybody listen to this. If you don't show up, what's the consequence? Because I need something to hold you accountable. She said, if I don't show up tonight, it's free haircuts for a year. I said, everybody hear that? Everybody hear that? Free haircuts for a year. I'm all on, and that's okay. And before long, we're inviting everybody. And before I left, Josh, I asked Joy, who is over here, who doesn't, she listens, but she's not certain. I said, hey, Joy, we're not going to leave you out. If you want to come, come. And the girl that cuts my hair, Becca, she comes here with her family. I said, hey, will you invite her? If you don't invite, there's a really good chance they will not show up. So when I tell you, in the culture, if we get the culture right and you're comfortable and you believe in it, watch this, you won't have to be trained to invite. You will just naturally invite. Kind of like when you found chocolate ice cream with nuts and caramel. Oh yeah. You didn't have to have somebody sell you. You just bought. It's like, I'm in on that. And then you go out and you tell all your friends. It's like the first time I ever ate a McDonald's fry. I was like, I need to get my buddy Josh to eat a French fry with me, because how many of you know if you're doing something you feel guilty about, it feels better to have somebody else with you, and then you're just like, okay, that feels really good. Now, I'm not saying doing anything wrong, but here's what I want you to know. In your life, if you live in a culture that has no trust, you got a big challenge, because trust determines behavior. Wow. If you break my trust, guess what? Now I got my eye on you. And the question of us is some of us have been so hurt so many times in so many different ways that we don't trust anybody. And so when my son talks about getting your innocence back, listen to me. Jared, that's not as easy as it sounds rolling off of my lips. I was 50 years old when I lost my innocence. I thought everybody loved everybody. Until one day I found out people justify evil deeds using God's name. And it destroys your innocence. I thought everybody was for me, only to find out that everybody can sometimes be just for themselves. So in your culture, it's just a fact that trust is essential for the behavior to be good. Trust is essential if behaviors are going to be productive. By the way, if I could do anything for you and you run a company right now, I would work on your culture and I would ask you, how can we together not only create the culture within your world, but create all the culture with the people and organizations and contacts you have? Because if you can create a dynamic culture, you can change everything. Are you with me? Because it's in the right culture. So, here's what I can tell you. How do you become a personal agent of creating trust? So let me tell you how to do it. State what you're going to do and then do it. But then live it. You live it and watch what happens. So as you begin to move forwards, you've got to realize that right now your culture and your future is way beyond you. It's not just about you. And so I want to tell you there are 4 things that you have to do if you want these 3 things to work in your life. I'm going to give you one real quick. Are you ready? If you're ready, say I'm ready. Here we go. Number 1, I have to value people. I have to value people. Trust begins in a culture where people are valued. Not measured, not critiqued, not put down. How many of you will agree with me that people are different? How many of you will know that unless people have lived what you've lived and performed where you're living? See, this blows me away. I have friends of mine right now that are making $500,000 a year, and they are really impressed, and I'm impressed too. Here's the challenge. If they would change a couple of things, they could make $1 million. And they won't change. And trust is the thing that they've got to understand. So watch this. Are you ready? Once you feel valued by someone, you feel connected to that someone. Are you with me? I'm worried when guys are around me and they're not connected. Boy, if I was a leader, I would be asking 1,000,000 questions right there. Just because people show up does not mean they're connected. It does not mean they will help you. I've had a lot of people that liked me, they even loved me, but they didn't help me. And so have you. So, this means, are you ready? Because it's going to be deep. Just 1 second, and then I'm going to get out of here. All right? You can value someone, but if they don't feel valuable, no matter how much you value them, they will not connect to you. If somebody feels embarrassed on who they are, or if you find out who I really am, you're not going to love me. Because, can I tell you, in my world, the church world, it's been known that we take scriptures and we use them on people to hurt them and measure them and critique them. And we say that, you know what, my value is the Word of God, and it should be the Word of God, but you left out the part where how do you treat people that are not where you are spiritually? They're not as mature as you are. And you can make a lot of damage in people's lives by feeding meat to babies that just need milk. That's why on Sunday morning here, people get mad at us. But we are gearing everything we do, like you should in your opportunity meeting, like you should be in your sales meeting. You should be gearing everything to the new person and getting them to buy into the values and the vision and the mission of your organization and buying into you. Who are you? Here's the question everybody has when they get around you. If I trust you, are you going to embarrass me? And we sometimes, because of our rules and law books and spreadsheets, devalue people instead of valuing them. So the valuing of people is a connecting link. In my world, if you follow Jesus, people all the time are saying, I want to be Christ-like. Well, if you want to be Christ-like and you want to follow Jesus, in the gospel, the bottom line of Jesus' life was that while he was here, he valued people. People that loved him, people that were far away from him, people that were messed up, people that were jacked up. So can I ask you a question? If I took a meter on your team today and put a value meter on it, how valued do people feel? Wow. Can I tell you, the only people that couldn't handle Jesus valuing people were religious people. Well, you know what that is? Legalist. You know what that is in your world? Unless you do this bunch production, unless you do this, then I won't value you. Right? So I'm going to give you this, and then we're going to get out, and then I'll come back and finish this in my next leadership thing, okay? If you want somebody to perform more, find out what they want. Now, I just said a mouthful because right now, if I set you down and maybe even put a gun to your head right now and said, tell me what you want, you're going to get mad at me, and it's okay. My name is PT. I'm okay. Okay? Most of you don't know what you want. Do you know how I know you don't know what you want? Because you don't behave in a way to get it. Are you okay? Has anybody got questions right there? Because that's big. So tell me what you want. Can I see your one page where it right now it's drawn out? This is what I want. Do you know what kills most organizations? Do you know why most organizations that get started never flourish? Because no one ever agrees on the vision and the mission and the values of the organization. What is the vision? It's what we're going to do. And I get the privilege of walking with some of y'all right now. When Josh got here, he was working an hourly job. I remember the day he got fired and he was walking around wondering what he was going to do. And I looked him in the eye, to which he thought I was honestly saying heresy. I said, bro, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. Now, how many of you know when you're hurting and you're going, oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills and my insurance? All of a sudden you start to realize it, right? And I'm going, dude, this is exactly what needed to happen. Some of you right now are entrepreneurs and you don't know it. By the way, I've got 2 or 3 buddies in the room right now I won't embarrass you. The same thing happened to. And I went, this is the greatest day in your life. He launched a company, and it's not going to be long before that company's doing $10 million, and I'm telling you, there's a $100 million company in it. I have a goal in my life. It's a gift. I want to help 100 people build a $100 million company. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how aged you are. It ain't got nothing to do with it. What it's got to do with is, what do you want? If you don't know what you want, you'll spend your life in places you shouldn't be. You'll take your families to places it should never go. And I'm going to tell you this right now, and I don't want you to get mad at me because a lot of us as leaders are really dealing with this. If you want to see pain in your life, be unequally yoked with somebody that doesn't see the vision, that doesn't see where we're headed. One of the most painful things you will ever go through in your life is seeing things in people that they cannot see in themselves. I'm not saying that about him. except I've known from the moment I met him, I went, this guy's going to change the world. And I'm watching him, and he's gotten married, and a beautiful daughter, and I'm going, oh my gosh. Right now, if you knew what was in you, but the problem of it is my self-esteem and my lack of understanding who I am will not allow me to do three things in my life that I definitely got to understand, undervaluing people. If you don't understand order, honor, and authority, you will never reach your destiny. Honor, order, and authority. Some of you are just getting here. I was in Miami yesterday with my buddy, and when I walked in the room, Jim walked over and he grabbed me, and I didn't really know what I was walking into. You ever been in one of these situations? I just showed up because my buddy was there, and he said, I want you to sit right here. And I said, I really appreciate that, but if you don't mind, I would want to sit back here. And he goes, well, wherever you want to. Now, he's known me long enough, so don't ever do this to me, please. Don't ever call me Timmy. My family called me Timmy, and people that have known me really long times that are way older than me sometimes will call me Timmy. But honestly, it's a very disrespectful thing. And honor, order, and authority are everything. I sat here, and when he got up to speak, he said, will you please sit where I am? Which was right beside the owner of the company. Huh. Wow. The Bible says that when you get there, don't take the seat of honor, because they may come and ask you to move. Take the seat and then be invited. I'm so grateful that the foundation of my life is the Word of God. Because if you're a young man or a young woman and you don't know that, you're going to get your legs taken out, and your next promotion will never take place, not because you're not talented, not because you're not gifted, not because you're not smart, but because we don't understand honor. Wow. So in your life, Jesus valued people, and the only people it bothered was people that were religious. It bothered them that Jesus ate and hung with sinners. It bothers people that I don't hang with people that are just of my cloth. But I've found out that 53% of the people in this world, and I'm talking to you about your company right now, 53% of the people in this world will never go in a church door. So if you're opening your doors just for people that agree with you and want what you have, I'm really proud of you, and we need to feed the sheep. But I got to tell you, this thing keeps me awake going, oh, how do I reach the other 53%? Some of you right now in business right now, you only go to people you like. You only hang with people, you get cliquey. And you hang with the people that you feel comfortable with. And I want to beg you to get uncomfortable and get out around people that don't look like you, believe like you, speak like you, talk like you. I've got some friends in my life, honest to God, when I get around them, they make me laugh because I'm just not used to hearing cussing. And when people cuss, I know a pastor shouldn't be this way, but it makes me laugh. And when I'm around them, I just look at them and I watch my family, which I really love, my kids, our children. And it blows me away to watch how well they do with people that are far away from what they could be. Boy. So, I got to tell you, I'm like a shepherd. I'm like a friend. So here's what I got to tell you. I am here on this earth. I want you as a leader to be able to answer this right now. Why are you on this earth? Oh yeah, it's going to get mean for a minute. Why are you here on this earth? Here's what I saw in a bunch of men and women's lives yesterday that are already financially, you would say they're successful. They're winning. Almost every one of them to the T walked up to me and said, I have this dream inside of me, and I want to make an impact. Do you know how many of them came to me yesterday, Jared, and said this to me? I feel most alive when I'm doing this. Why? I'm so excited about you building something that can finance your calling. Are you with me? Yeah. Because then you can answer the question is, why am I here? And I think all of us under the sound of my voice right now are all here for the same purpose. And the purpose you're here is to fulfill the Great Commission. To go to the lost and the dying. That's why I'm begging people, don't just invite people from other churches. They're already going to church. I don't want to build a church that's built off of other churches. I want to build a church that's built off the 53% that we went and found them and said, okay, like I want your company to be a company that is fully engaged, going where other people will not go because they don't have the vision or the understanding or the culture of what they really need to be. All right? So, who's your customer? Who is your customer right now? If I sit down with you and said, who's your customer? If you're thinking about building another business right now and you're going, well, I've been on the sidelines, I don't care. Who is your customer? In my world, my customer is very clearly defined. Lost sheep. And I get to be a shepherd. By the way, it should be the greatest desire of your heart if you're going to do something that's impactful. Now, I'm not against you. Please, leaders. I got you from everywhere. We got pastors. We got everybody. I just want you to know right now, once you understand that you are truly valued and that then you can value other people, then get ready. Because you will walk in honor, order, and authority. You guys know God don't bless a mess, right? Yeah. That's why right now I would encourage you. This week, I had at least 2 companies come to me and we put order to what they do. Now listen, I'm going to say this and then I'll take some questions and we'll quit, okay? It's easy to organize something that's not growing. Let me say that to you one more time, because some of you are so upset that you feel like you're unorganized. And you've got to get used to chaotic organization. Are you with me? Yes. And people that are control freaks do not like when things get out of order. That's why you've got to be careful that you have order people in your life, but they are not the people leading the culture. That's a lot of questions, ain't it? Okay, so we're going to do this. So here's what I want you to know. I want you, your assignment is to find out who you are. Look at these 3 things that we talked about. Okay, go back to the beginning and listen, because you have to put it in any organization. If you're doing a startup right now, you have to look at behaviors. By the way, I'll do a Saturday afternoon on this. You have to look at symbols, messaging, words. That's why I wrote the book, Vocabulary of a Leader, and systems. What are your systems? We are working on systems around here like you cannot imagine. And it's tough because right now the need is greater than our solution. Okay? But it's okay. You're going to have that in your company as well. So just right now, ask it. Honestly, right now, who is my customer? And the second thing is, who should I be serving that people don't think I should be serving? Who should I be going to that right now I'm not going to? This next week, I will speak probably about 650 leaders in the room between the ages of 22 and 33. Husbands and wives, many of them, honestly, you couldn't even imagine. They would be who you would want on your team. But right now, you can't see that those people are looking, because they look good, but inside they're waiting for somebody to come and set the behaviors. So, I love you. Charge.